Part 91. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 901. Chapter 901 Officer Song's Number 1 Crush. Oh my god, this is the first time I've been so close to Officer Song. Su-an's tone became excited, like a little girl chasing stars after seeing her idol. Officer Song looked at her with a smile, holding back his glib tone and maintaining his aloof persona. Okay, can you sign your name? Su-annie asked cautiously, while Xia Ying beside her couldn't help laughing. She thought that Sister Annie was not the kind of person who chased stars, but it turned out that the person she was chasing was just Officer Song. It's really interesting that Sister Anne, who has always been calm, actually had a chaotic day. Yes, you can also take photos. Officer Song then added something to his mind. Would you like to leave another contact number? Ah! Su-an was stunned. After realizing it, she looked flattered again. Contact number? Officer Song's mobile phone number? Is she going to get Officer Song's mobile phone number soon? What about that? Didn't I just hear you say that you run a comic shop? If something happens around you in the future, it will be easier for you to contact us, not for investigation and evidence collection. Officer Song just gave up a blunt reason to cover up his with ulterior motives. Su-an nodded blankly, thinking that this aloof Officer Song was actually a person with no airs at all. This really confirmed the saying, people's affairs are important matters. Su-annie did some thinking in her mind and successfully brainwashed herself, raising the image of Officer Song to several heights in her mind. Yu Lingfeng silently added, Officer Song, does every shop owner leave his own personal phone number? He is really comprehensive. Officer Song's face darkened, thinking that Yu Lingfeng just couldn't bear to see a single like him, who had been single for n years, get out of the singles, right? I just want to tear him down. Before Officer Song could say anything, his number one fan had already spoken for him. Officer Song has always been like this. He cares about the people wholeheartedly and devotes himself to the people. He never pays attention to himself. In his heart, the people are his destiny. For the people, I will go up to the sword and go down to the sea of fire without hesitation. Police Officer Song listened to Su-annie's boastful words to him, and he couldn't stand it anymore. It turns out that he is just like Superman in the eyes of this girl. This misunderstanding is a bit deep. I don't know if it is good or bad. If we really get together in the future, the girl finds that he is different from what she thought. I don't know what will happen. What a reaction. He admitted that he was indeed a hero, but Su-an made him look like Guanyin Tathagata. He did not have such a broad mind. Yu Lingfeng saw that Officer Song looked embarrassed, and knew that he himself was embarrassed too. Xia Ying heard what Su-annie said and smiled. Sister Annie, where did you hear this? It seems that Su-annie is really Officer Song's number one crush. Su-annie said seriously, this is something that everyone in the entire imperial capital knows. Officer Song is our hero, alive and well. Ahem. Thank you for your support. Officer Song coughed twice, interrupting Su-annie's next words. He already felt that Su-annie had been deeply brainwashed by herself, and he didn't want to listen anymore. By the way, how did you meet Officer Song? Su-an asked. Officer Song is a busy man, and he can actually find time to attend their engagement party, which shows that the relationship is extraordinary. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 902. Chapter 902 is getting more and more smoky. Well, it's a long story, so I won't go into it. Police Officer Song stopped the topic from continuing. Oh, okay. Su-annie didn't think much about it, but she still looked at Officer Song with her starry eyes, which made Officer Song a little unable to resist, but she was still happy and beautiful in her heart. Then at the ensuing engagement party, Officer Song and Su-annie chatted very immersedly, and it seemed that there was a possibility of further development. "Hey, Yu Lingfeng, do you think Officer Song and Sister Annie are actually a good match?" Xia Ying tugged on Yu Lingfeng's sleeves and asked him in a low voice. Yu Lingfeng just raised his head and glanced in their direction, non-committal. "Hey, our little Yingying and Xiao Fengfeng are hiding here and whispering it's so sweet." Grandma appeared out of nowhere, and then looked at Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying with a smile on her face, feeling as if she had been wiped with honey. Yu Lingfeng felt that he was suddenly a little tired. He had already been unable to stand the enthusiastic relatives of the Xia family just now. Now the most difficult grandmother came again, and Yu Lingfeng completely surrendered. Let it be dealt with without refuting or agreeing. Xia Ying suddenly dropped her hand holding Yu Lingfeng's arm, looked at her grandma, and showed a stiff smile. "What's wrong, Grandma? Do you have anything to do with us?" "Of course something happened. Today is your home court. Why are you still hiding? Come here quickly." Grandma waved to them, and Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying had no choice but to walk towards her like puppets on strings. There wasn't much that happened next. After the engagement ceremony, Liangya and Qianyin sang songs, followed by a chat with the elders, and Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng accepted their blessings one by one. After the whole process, Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng were extremely tired and miserable. "Brother Yu, there's something going on in the office. I'll leave first. Happy engagement." Officer Song conjured a bouquet of flowers out of nowhere and handed it to Xia Ying. Xia Ying opened her eyes wide in surprise and said thank you. Yu Lingfeng, who saw the bug clearly but did not intend to expose it, just nodded. "Well, pay attention to safety." Officer Song raised the corners of his mouth and said yo exaggeratedly. Then he looked at Yu Lingfeng with a sinister look and said, "We haven't seen each other for a while. Brother Yu is getting more and more like fireworks. It's really rare to be able to say the human words pay attention to safety." Yu Lingfeng glanced at the bouquet of flowers, ignored Officer Song's joke, and just said meaningfully, "If anything happens, call me." Officer Song raised his eyebrows, and immediately understood the meaning of Yu Lingfeng's words. This guy is really smart. Wait for my call. Officer Song reached out, patted Yu Lingfeng's arm, and winked at Yu Lingfeng with his right eye. Yu Lingfeng had no expression on his face the whole time. Officer Song then said to Xia Ying, "Brother and sister, I'm going to leave first." Xia Ying was at a loss when Officer Song called her brother and sister. She was stunned for a while before replying, "Be careful on the road. Give me the flowers." Yu Lingfeng reached out and took the flower in Xia Ying's hand, and then walked with Xia Ying in the direction of Xiachuanhai and Luo Xian. At this time, Yu Lingfeng suddenly felt something moving in the grass next to her, but turned around to look in the past. There is nothing anymore. Yu Lingfeng half squinted his eyes, and then put his hand into the bouquet. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 903. Chapter 903. The victims are all eldest ladies from wealthy families. As expected, Yu Lingfeng took out a piece of paper from the bouquet. "Protect Xia Ying." Yu Lingfeng then raised his head and subconsciously looked at Xia Ying aside. Xia Ying was having a lively chat with Ye Xiaoxun and Tang Tang Er. Yu Lingfeng walked aside and called Officer Song while making sure that Xia Ying was within his sight. "What is going on? Is it related to the case you recently investigated?" Yu Lingfeng knew that Officer Song was not the kind of person to give flowers. He has said before that he hates giving flowers. Because there are so many beautiful things in this world, and flowers are so common and old-fashioned. Moreover, Officer Song's expression just now was also very intriguing. Yu Lingfeng already knew the truth after a little probing. "You react very quickly." Officer Song joked at first, and then returned to his seriousness. Recently, there have been several cases of women suddenly losing their minds during engagement ceremonies in the imperial city. Moreover, there is no cure so far. The reason is unknown, but the symptoms are surprisingly similar. Yu Lingfeng frowned and glanced at Xia Ying, who was smiling like a flower. Of course, I'm not just here to attend your engagement ceremony. More importantly, I'm worried that Xia Ying will be harmed. Of course, I don't want such a thing to happen to Xia Ying. However, this incident has happened so frequently recently that it can no longer be hidden from the public. After the victim's family reported the crime, the boss handed the matter over to me. However, I have been investigating for several days, and not only do I have no clue at all, but several more cases have been added. Tell me, who is behind this? Police Officer Song has been busy working on this case these days, and he hasn't even identified a suspect. Although the victim's family members are still actively cooperating with the police and concealing the matter in order not to cause panic in society, as time goes by, if there is no explanation, they may not be able to hide it. Now they are even involved in ghost theory, saying that there are ghosts. What's particularly interesting is that the crazy woman also said that there was a ghost and said that so-and-so was coming to take revenge. She asked her who was who, but she couldn't utter a word. This is true for everyone. I have tried psychotherapy, psychiatrists, etc., but they can't provide any useful information. What are the commonalities among several cases? Yu Lingfeng asked in a calm tone. The victims are all eldest ladies from wealthy families. Officer Song shrugged. Those rich people are more aggressive. If the police can't find them out, they will be restless. Officer Song was afraid that one day they would gather together to cause trouble. The eldest lady from a wealthy family. Yu Lingfeng was thinking about something. Could it be that the murderer was a rich hater? Young, beautiful, and rich at home, they are almost the darlings of the upper class. Officer Song took a puff of cigarette, blew out a circle of smoke, and then said, after observing it, "There is no problem on your side. The ceremony is almost over, so you should go home." When Officer Song left, he saw that the engagement ceremony was almost in progress and nothing unusual seemed to happen, so he left. The police station was pressing hard, and the reason he came here was to perform a mission. Since there was nothing unusual, he couldn't stay long. No, there is a situation. Yu Lingfeng's eyes darkened a bit and he said coldly. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 904. Chapter 904. New song released tonight. What? Officer Song was startled. He was half lying in the back seat of the car, but he suddenly jumped up and asked, what happened? He had just returned after carefully surveying the surroundings to make sure everything was all right. Moreover, the ceremony was over at this time, which did not fit in the time frame for the murderer to commit the crime in the middle of the ceremony. Not yet, there was just a little movement in the grass, but I'm here, it's okay. Yu Lingfeng looked at Xia Ying, then glanced at the patch of grass where the situation had just occurred, and then said to Officer Song, if he dares to come out and act like a ghost, then I will help you solve the case. Officer Song smiled. Yu Lingfeng was Yu Lingfeng. He was the only one who had such confidence. He planned to capture the murderer as soon as he appeared, and he hoped he could succeed. Do you need me to come back and help? As Officer Song said, he was about to tell the driver to go back. No, don't come over, otherwise you will alert the enemy. Yu Lingfeng stopped Officer Song's actions. This was the situation that happened not long after he left. Maybe the murderer was hiding from him. If the murderer was afraid of him, he would probably not dare to come out once he came. Yu Lingfeng now inexplicably wants to play with that pretender. Yu Lingfeng hung up the phone and walked towards Xia Ying. Xia Ying was chatting with the girls. Tang Guo'er and the others were smiling happily, but Xia Ying looked a little shy. One face was red and red. Hey, Xiaoying, you and Yu Lingfeng are engaged, will you live in, no, sleep together? Haha, I guess Xiaoying and Yu Lingfeng should have slept together long ago. Huh, really? Facing the gossipy looks cast by a group of people, Xiaoying quickly turned around and prepared to escape from this place of right and wrong. These women were too scary. Just as Xiaoying turned around, she bumped into Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng took advantage of the situation and hugged Xiaoying into his arms, and then there was another melodious wow sound. Xiaoying felt ashamed and pushed Yu Lingfeng away. Yu Lingfeng was not annoyed, but looked at Ye Xiaoxun and the others with a gentle tone. What are you talking about, why are you so happy? Us. The girls looked at each other for a while. It was better not to let Yu Lingfeng know about this kind of thing. After all, it was just a private conversation between the girls. It's nothing, just be happy. Ye Xiaoxun and the others said with smiles. Thanks. Yu Lingfeng was in a good mood today, so his expression was unusually not so cold. Although they didn't say it clearly, Yu Lingfeng probably guessed the direction. Not long after, the crowd dispersed and there was still nothing unusual. Yu Lingfeng and Xiaoying were sitting in a car. Xiaoying was leaning on Yu Lingfeng and chatting with Tanguo and the others on WeChat. During the chat, Xiaoying posted another Weibo message, there is a new song tonight. Xiaoying hasn't released a new song for a long time. When Liangye and Qianyins released a new song, when will Xiaoying release a new song become the top trending search topic? Now, the new song that fans have been clamoring for will be released soon. It didn't take long for this Weibo post to become a hot search topic. Ah! My Sakura's new song. Finally you are here. I didn't take a selfie, I miss the cherry blossoms. Baby. Mom loves you and begs you to release an album. Mom wants to spend money on you. Wow wow wow, Sakura, you finally posted on Weibo, I'm so excited, I will always keep an eye on the new song. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 905. Chapter 905, Do you want to be so boring? Yu Lingfeng glanced inadvertently and saw Xiaoying's Weibo. Xiaoying had indeed been studying her new song some time ago. Xiaoying releases songs one after another every time. Compared with other singers who release songs from album to album, there are at least a dozen songs in an album. Xiaoying's fans have always felt that they are wronged. However, later on, Xiaoying delayed releasing new songs, and they all became Buddhists. They felt that as long as Xiaoying was willing to release songs, they would have no regrets even if they had to wait for more than half a year for a song. What's the name of the new song? Yu Lingfeng asked. Xiaoying had not even mentioned the new song to him. Just one person secretly preparing. Xiaoying looked up at Yu Lingfeng and showed a sly smile, it's a secret. You can find out by checking my Weibo at 9 o'clock tonight. Yu Lingfeng just smiled faintly and said, okay, I will go and see it. What is that? Yu Lingfeng noticed a delicate small gift box placed by Xiaoying and asked. Xiaoying took the gift box over, with a confused look on her face, I don't know, Mu Niankai gave it to me, and said it can only be opened at night. It's mysterious, and I don't know her either, what the hell. Yu Lingfeng didn't think much about it. Looking at the packaging, it was obvious that it was something for their little girls. He's not interested in any of this either. Well, I don't seem to have seen Qianyins. Where has he gone? He doesn't answer the phone. I am also planning to talk to him about his schedule for next month. Sister Wan has asked for leave, so I look at him more. Xiaoying said as she picked up her mobile phone and called Qianyins. Yu Lingfeng suddenly reached out and took Xiaoying's hand, no, he won't answer your call. Xiaoying was stunned. Yu Lingfeng said meaningfully, because 11 Ju is also missing. Xiaoying suddenly realized, Are these two people really so annoying? What should I do if I am photographed? 11 Ju is sensible and will ask Qianyins to contact you later. Xia Ying was so angry that her cheeks were bulging. This Qianyins, now that she is in a relationship, she has forgotten about her as her boss. She doesn't even answer the phone. When she calls her, she still has to look at her boyfriend's face. If you really get married in the future, wouldn't it mean that you will fly into the sky with 11 Ju and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun? Xia Ying felt that it was necessary for her to find time to revive her boss dignity. Just when Xia Ying was angry with Qianyins, Liang Ye suddenly sent a message to Xia Ying. Xia Ying, I wrote a new song some time ago. Can I send it to you when I get back? When Xia Ying saw the news, she felt that the anger in her heart immediately disappeared. Xia Ying held her mobile phone and said with emotion, my Xia Lianjai is better behaved. Liang Ye is such an honest kid. In his world, there is nothing but music. When he makes money, he buys better music equipment and music-related things that he likes. Other than this, he hardly spends money himself. Compared to Qianyins, who has countless clothes and shoes next door, Liang Ye's clothes and shoes are all bought by his assistant. The assistant forced him to buy the new car, otherwise the price would be too low if he was photographed driving a car worth more than 100,000 yuan. Moreover, Qianyins has long lived in a villa and driven a luxury car, while Qianyins still lives in a small apartment assigned by the company. The big houses bought with money are all used by the family. Liang Ye lives here alone because his music practice disturbs the elderly. This kid Liang Ye is really a treasure. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 906. Chapter 906 Dear, Mr. Yu. Xia Ying's fans have been waiting. From the moment Xia Ying said she was going to release a new song, the number of people logging into Weibo Online reached a peak. Xia Ying doesn't have many songs, but her songs are all high quality, so even if she takes a long time to release a new song, as soon as she releases it, it will quickly land on the major charts and become the hottest discussion point nowadays. At 9 o'clock, Xia Ying uploaded a new song on time. Dear, Mr. Yu. I thought I had seen the most beautiful scenery in the world. Until I see the light and shadow in your eyes. I thought rainbows only appeared after wind and rain. Later I found out. With you. No matter how big the shadow is, it will disappear. Dear, Mr. Yu. You said you were willing to be the enemy of the world for me. But in my heart, you are my whole world. Dear, Mr. Yu. For the rest of my life, it's you and only you. Fans haven't even clicked in to listen, but they were blown away when they first saw the title. Is Xia Ying openly spreading her dog food? Mr. Yu must be the extremely mysterious boyfriend in Xia Ying's legend. The boy who was trending on Weibo for several days a few days ago. Now, Xia Ying wrote a song for him. The lyrics are simply too sweet and sour, okay. Are there any critical hits? However, when seeing this song, some people are excited, some are happy, and naturally some are sad. For example, the popularity of chivalrous couple among fans on Weibo has always been very high, and the popularity of the super topic has always been in the top 10 on Weibo. Even if they don't have dog food, they can still produce it themselves. Especially Jun Chanai's comments on Weibo in the early years are enough for them to use. The fanfics of the chivalrous couple are also selling well online. There are CP fans of the chivalrous couple in Taiba and various organizations. Now, Xia Ying, the main character, not only announced that she has a boyfriend, but also wrote songs to promote it. Fans of the chivalrous couple feel their hearts are being broken. It's so sweet. Mr. Yu and our little Sakura must have a good time. Mr. Yu, who has particularly beautiful hands, please listen to me, Xia Ying is our goddess, you are not allowed to bully her, otherwise we Yinghua will not let you go. Who still remembers the song To My Girl that Mr. Jun once wrote for Xia Ying? There is clearly love between the lines, so why did it just break up? Did our young Master Jun have a car accident, so someone broke up with him? Haha, such a person is really not worthy of our young master, thank you for not marrying me. I will not bless you. Is it poisonous upstairs? When did Xia Ying admit that she was in love with Jun Chennai? Aren't they all created by UCP fans on your own? What reason do you have to accuse her like this? How funny. Xia Ying is just a watery, ungrateful woman. She abandoned young Master Jun when he was in decline? Have you forgotten that the song Mr. Jun gave you before was no worse than this one? Everyone can see how much he loves you. Xia Ying looked at the comments on Weibo. She didn't expect that someone would involve Jun Chennai in this song. Now, there is a lot of heated discussion on the internet, and there was even a topic like Xia Ying's watery sex appeared at one time. Xia Ying didn't respond for a long time, because she knew that nothing she said now was of any use. Jun Chennai's fans were too scary, and CP fans couldn't afford to offend him. Until, an hour later, Jun Chennai retweeted Xia Ying's Weibo and added, "The best desk mate, be happy." End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 907. Chapter 907 Should the family be so tidy? Not long after, all Jun Chennai's fans exploded. Master Jun, you finally posted on Weibo. Does the face of some chirping and gossiping people hurt? Mr. Jun's attitude is obvious, right? They're just friends. Don't overthink it, okay? Am I the only one who thinks that Mr. Jun is particularly positive every time he encounters Xia Ying? If this is not considered love. I always feel that Mr. Jun likes Xia Ying, and he is the kind of person who cannot love her, which is very sad. Come on, tell me I'm not the only one who thinks this way. Silently go upstairs. Yu Lingfeng looked at the comments on Weibo with a dark face. Seeing this, Xia Ying quickly took away Yu Lingfeng's mobile phone, and then said, "Yu Lingfeng, please ignore these messy comments on the internet. Have you seen the song I wrote for you? Do you like it?" Yu Lingfeng raised his eyes and stared at Xia Ying with shining eyes. There seemed to be thousands of stars in his eyes, which were so dazzling that it was difficult to open their eyes. Like very much. Yu Lingfeng pursed her lips slightly. Xia Ying knew that every time Yu Lingfeng was shy, she would do this. Xia Ying looked at Yu Lingfeng's cute little move and couldn't help but smile softly, then leaned on Yu Lingfeng's arm and said softly, "Yu Lingfeng, I really like you, I really like you." "Me too." Yu Lingfeng's voice was slightly lazy and extremely charming. Xia Ying felt her heart tingle as she listened. Ahem. At this time, a very untimely person suddenly appeared. Xia Ying was startled, then left Yu Lingfeng and looked at Chu Shenxiu. "Cousin Sakura, you are really becoming more and more high profile." When Chu Shenxiu just listened to Xia Ying's new song, he had goosebumps all over his body. I have to say it sounds good, but paired with Xia Ying's sweetness and slightly lazy voice, it is simply a fatal blow. Chu Shenxiu's first reaction after listening to it was, why are the lyrics so disgusting? Cousin Sakura, how can you only have Yu Lingfeng for the rest of your life? And me? Your most adorable big turtle dove. Sure enough, the big turtle dove was forgotten after the old monster. Crying and whining. What's wrong? Yu Lingfeng and I are already engaged. What's wrong with me sharing the joy with my fans? Xia Ying was rarely thick-skinned. Chu Shenxiu glanced at Xia Ying meaningfully, so do you know they are playing your songs outside the group now? Xia Ying was stunned. They refer to her grandparents, parents, and the rest? Xia Ying's idea had not come to any conclusion yet. As the music became clearer, a group of people came over, each holding a mobile phone and turning the volume to the maximum to play Xia Ying's Dear, Mr. Yu. The expressions on everyone's faces were all looking at Xia Ying intriguingly. Xia Ying's face immediately turned red. How about this big family being so tidy? Oh, I like this song Xia Ying so much, I want to use it as an alarm clock. Grandma said excitedly. Me too, Grandpa agreed. I won't use it as an alarm clock. Xia Ying breathed a sigh of relief, her father was still reliable. I use it as a ringtone so I can hear it many times a day. Xia Ying's face was covered with black lines. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore, Xia Ying and Ling Feng, go and see the wedding room we have carefully prepared for you. Luo Xian said with a smile. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 908. Chapter 908. Pay attention to safety measures. Marriage room. Xia Ying was shocked. Dang, 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 are you surprised or not, are you surprised, do you like it or not? With a smile on her face, Grandma showed off her achievements over the past few days to Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng. Since you are engaged, you can sleep together in the future. Grandma seemed to have thought of something, and then added, however, you must pay attention to safety measures. Xia Ying's face turned red. Chu Shenxiu covered her ears and shook her head wildly to indicate that she couldn't hear. Chu Shengming coughed twice in embarrassment without comment and then looked at Chu Shenxiu, the actor next to him, speechlessly. Xia Chuanhai patted Yu Lingfeng's shoulder and said with a serious and thoughtful tone, Xiao Ying, she is still young, you'd better. I know. Yu Lingfeng quickly interrupted and responded to Xia Chuanhai with a look of I understand, don't worry. Xia Chuanhai nodded, feeling that the atmosphere was a bit subtle and awkward. Well, that's good. Chu Shenxiu, who accidentally heard it again, started a new round of forcible hints. He blocked his ears and could not hear or hear. Chu Shengming pulled Chu Shenxiu's hand away mercilessly. Chu Shenxiu looked at Chu Shengming aggrievedly. Face the reality. Chu Shenxiu ran out with a sad face and a look like I don't want to face this cruel fact. What happened to 13? Luo Xian asked. Chu Shengming smiled slightly and replied, he just needs some time to accept it. Ahem, I'm not talking about you 12, you're not young anymore, your cousin Xiao Ying is engaged now, so you should hurry up. Isn't there any suitable girl in the unit where you work? Grandma started nagging mode. Chu Shengming frowned slightly, not understanding how this topic came to him. If he had known better, he shouldn't have spoken just now. Just a girl. Grandma was stunned for a moment, and finally she said politely, as a girl, is that appropriate? Chu Shengming looked up at the ceiling, Grandma, I'm going to see 13. Chu Shengming felt that, judging from his grandmother's trend of getting Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng quickly engaged within a few days of her arrival, it would be better for him to take it easy. Luo Xian saw that Chu Shengming couldn't resist and left, so she smiled and said to her grandmother, Mom, are you a man? 23 is busy with his own career now, and he is still so young. Why are you so anxious? Today at the ceremony, I saw many girls having with each other, and I thought about how these two children have never even been in love, so I don't know what I was thinking. Grandma mumbled something. Luo Xian covered her mouth and smiled, maybe they just didn't let us know. How do you know they haven't talked about it? But I know the characters of those two children very well. If there is really a situation, I can tell it at a glance. As Xia Ying listened to Luo Xian and her grandmother talking to each other, she suddenly felt that Zhang was still hotter when she was older. I didn't expect that her grandmother, who looked like a cheerful old lady, had such a high-ranking rank. You could see it all. When Tang Guo saw Chu Shengming today, she had been hiding behind Xia Ying and watching secretly. She wanted to take a peek at Chu Shengming, but at the same time, she didn't want Chu Shengming to find her. Xia Ying felt a little tired for her in such a tangled situation, but for Tang Guo'er, it seemed that just one look at Chu Shengming was enough. This child really loves deeply. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 909. Chapter 909. A Gift from Muni Ankai. When they were almost gone, only Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng were left in the room. Grandma was the last one to leave. Before leaving, she did not forget to give Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng a meaningful look, and finally brought God to the door. Although this was not the first time that Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng slept together, after what they had just said, Xia Ying still felt that the current atmosphere was very embarrassing. There was silence for a while. Neither Xia Ying nor Yu Lingfeng spoke. Yu Lingfeng kept staring at her with eyes that made Xia Ying unpredictable. Xia Ying was stunned by her look and pursed her lips, not knowing what to say. With a casual look, Xia Ying happened to see the gift that she had not yet opened. As if she had found a piece of driftwood in the ocean, Xia Ying immediately opened her eyes and took the gift box over. Yu Lingfeng raised an eyebrow and glanced at the gift box. Xia Ying was unwrapping its ribbons. Are you sure you want to take it apart? Yu Lingfeng frowned slightly and said. Xia Ying raised her head and glanced at him. Why don't you open it? I'm quite curious about what Muni Ankai gave you. Just as Yu Lingfeng was about to say something, Xia Ying had already opened the gift. Then, what caught Xia Ying's eyes was a colorful Akamoto contraceptive condom and a set of revealing underwear. Xia Ying was instantly petrified. This Muni Ankai is really like this. Why has she forgotten this girl's virtue? What kind of good gift can she give? And she also said that it must be opened at night. Yu Lingfeng coughed twice awkwardly, suppressed a smile, walked towards Xia Ying, closed the gift box again and put it aside. Xia Ying's face turned green and she didn't know what to say. From the corner of her eye, Xia Ying could clearly see the smile hidden in the corner of Yu Lingfeng's mouth. Damn, so embarrassing. She must teach Muni Ankai a lesson the next time she sees her. Okay, go to sleep. Yu Lingfeng ruffled Xia Ying's hair, leaned over and kissed her forehead. Yu Lingfeng, did you guess it just now? Xia Ying was ashamed and angry. She looked up at Yu Lingfeng with her mouth depressed. Yu Lingfeng nodded lightly. Yes, I guessed it. You opened it before I could stop it? Huh, so embarrassing. Xia Ying covered her red face with her hands, lowered her head and pressed it against Yu Lingfeng's chest, not looking at him. Yu Lingfeng just stroked Xia Ying's hair with a doting look on her face, and then comforted her. It's okay, I can pretend I didn't see it. Xia Ying didn't respond. Yu Lingfeng walked aside, turned off the light, then walked to Xia Ying again, took her hand, and led her to the bed. Yu Lingfeng always gives Xia Ying an extra sense of security. Xia Ying's sleep quality is not very good, but every time she sleeps with Yu Lingfeng, she can always fall asleep quickly. Yu Lingfeng bowed and looked at Xia Ying, who was sleeping soundly in his arms, with the corners of his mouth raised slightly. At this time, a black shadow flashed outside the window. Yu Lingfeng shot it with a look, then flew a needle over, and then the black shadow disappeared. Yu Lingfeng narrowed his eyes slightly. What kind of person is he who dares to come directly to him to cause trouble? Yu Lingfeng stood up cautiously and quickly came to the window. There was no one around. Looking down, there was nothing unusual on the street. There was just some rustling movement somewhere in the grass. Yu Lingfeng stared at that place and narrowed his eyes. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 910. Chapter 910, 36 Strategies for Chasing Your Wife. Yu Lingfeng leaned over and kissed Xia Ying on the forehead, and responded in a low voice, "Yes." The next second, Xia Ying's pajamas were taken off by Yu Lingfeng, and Yu Lingfeng's hot body pressed against her. This is the first time Xia Ying has felt such a high temperature on Yu Lingfeng's body. The next day, when Xia Ying woke up, she was alone in the bed. Xia Ying turned over and realized that her body was very sore. When she was getting dressed, Xia Ying looked at the bruises and ambiguous kiss marks all over her body and couldn't help but blush. Then she turned around and went to the closet to find something. Clothes that cover up. Last night, Yu Lingfeng said that she was still young and was afraid that she wouldn't be able to bear it, so she said she would only do it once. But how could Xia Ying have imagined that Yu Lingfeng's one time lasted so long? Xia Ying felt that her whole bones were falling apart now, and her whole body felt like it had been torn apart and reassembled. He is indeed an alien. After washing up, Xia Ying slowly walked to the living room without seeing Yu Lingfeng. At this time, Grandma came over and ordered Xia Ying to have breakfast. Xia Ying then realized that it was already past 9 o'clock and they had already eaten. Then, under the ambiguous eyes of a group of people, Xia Ying walked over to have breakfast silently. Yu Lingfeng is this beast. Xia Ying suddenly got up so late today, and she also wore a conservative round neck shirt that she hadn't worn in a long time. Chu Shenxiu thought about it with his toes and knew what happened last night. Chu Shenxiu silently clenched his fists and complained, then got up angrily, turned his grief into strength, and went directly to the company. Chu Shenming lowered his head and looked at the time. Today is not Sunday. When did Chu Shenxiu become so diligent and even go to the company on weekends? In the restaurant, Grandma served Xia Ying porridge with a smile, looking at Xia Ying as if she were a newly married daughter-in-law. "Grandma, where is Yu Lingfeng?" Xia Ying took a sip of porridge, raised her head and asked her grandmother. Xiao Fengfeng went out early in the morning, probably to find Officer Song. Grandma remembered that Yu Lingfeng told her that if Xia Ying asked him where he was, she would just say that he was looking for Officer Song. Oh. Xia Ying took another sip of porridge. Inside the police station. Police Officer Song drank tea slowly and leisurely, listening to Yu Lingfeng's story. "Brother Yu, didn't you say that you will catch me as soon as you make a move?" Police Officer Song joked happily. "If he hadn't jumped into the river, I would have caught him long ago." Yu Lingfeng glanced at Officer Song and said slowly. The water was so dirty, and there were a lot of people at that time. In addition, Yu Lingfeng was afraid that they would form a gang, and Xia Ying was alone. All the circumstances added up, so Yu Lingfeng let that person go first. Okay, I'm going to adjust the surveillance to see where that person went after landing." Police Officer Song got up and went out to give orders. Yu Lingfeng sat alone in Officer Song's office and picked up the book that Officer Song had placed on his desk in boredom. Just as Yu Lingfeng picked up the top book, he suddenly found that the things underneath were: "How to get a girlfriend. It's enough to master these 18 moves. 36 strategies for chasing a wife, all of them work. How to make a girl fall in love with you so much that she can't help herself." Yu Lingfeng's face darkened. How hungry is this Officer Song? Yu Lingfeng flipped through a few pages at random. Only Officer Song would buy this kind of book that was meant to deceive a dead man. Officer Song opened the door and came in, and saw his book of shame in Yu Lingfeng's hand. When Yu Lingfeng heard the noise, he raised his head and looked at Officer Song with disdain. "Yesterday's car was harmonized. So I don't dare to open it today. Let's drink some water. Rounding off a bit, just think that I have opened 233. End of this chapter.